Hi you guys, Shalonda here, coming to you with my first YouTube video. I'm super excited about this. I watch so many documentaries where they cover criminal cases, and I just think like I can do that better. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna come up with YouTube and go over cases that I come across that are interesting that I want to talk about. And so if you guys like the video, just please comment, subscribe below. I guess the YouTube thing. Let me know what you think about it. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. My first video is the Tiffany Moss trial. Tiffany Moss is out of Georgia. You can see it right here. Tiffany Moss was recently convicted and sentenced to death in the case of starving her stepdaughter Imani Moss. So just to give you a little bit background on this thing, Tiffany Moss was married to Iman Moss. Iman was raising a daughter when he met Tiffany. They ultimately ended up having 2 kids of their own. And so it's supposed to be that perfect family, right? Blended family, good guy, you would think, because he's raising his daughter. And he gets with Tiffany, and I guess he got with worse than Cinderella's mom, because Tiffany Moss ultimately killed Imani Moss by starving her to death. So Imani Moss ended up getting a life in prison. So he did testify at the Tiffany Moss trial. You can see him right here too as well. Throughout the trial, he tried to gain sympathy from everybody by saying how he worked 16 hours a day. It was on Tiffany to provide for the child, to make sure she ate, and to make sure that everything, to educate her. At the time that Imani died, she was homeschooled. The thing is that really bothers me about this case is because you had your typical red signs. Whenever something's going on, whether it be an adult or a child, it's always those red signs that we're like, okay, was it something that led up to this to let us know that, look, this could happen? Of course, this beautiful young child right here did not have to be killed because there were signs. One of the biggest signs was Tiffany Moss was charged with assaulting a child at one point. She had a charge against her for assaulting Imani, and at the time, Imani was taken out of Iman's home and Tiffany's home, and was raised by Iman's mother for a while. They ultimately gained custody back and got their daughter back. And what that was, I hate things like that, because it's like, had it not been for them getting them back, maybe Imani would have had a chance. You know, the grandmother was in the courtroom throughout the trial, hands and in her head and crying. But it's like, well, you know, it was something you possibly could have done. No one checked on her. This child was dying for months. No one seen her. I mean, the grandmother doesn't have a legal duty to protect her, but it looks like somebody would have said, no, I want to see this child to see if she's okay. What is going on? You know? Instead, she was there hungry, and instead, Tiffany was sending messages like, okay, babe, can you bring me some brownie mix? You know, I want to make brownies for me and you and the kids tonight. Yet Imani was in that room starving. Okay, babe, can you bring me a burger home? Imani wasn't getting any of that food. She was starving to death in that room. And I don't care how many hours you work, Iman knew about this. They asked him at one point and said, Iman, okay, how was she when you did see her? You know, well, I seen her on the weekend, she acted like she was hungry. You think? At the time Imani died, she was 35 pounds. That is the size of a toddler. She was 10 years old. I have an 11-year-old, and she's slim, and she's in 70-some pounds or something like that. That is crazy that Imani was 35 pounds. This baby was hungry. And, you know, instead of her feeding her, and of course, the experts went over that at this point, Imani was starving. So at one point, she poured water on herself. You know, boiling water from the stove, or she used the bathroom herself. These are signs that this child is starving. Like, your brain is telling you, get food, or you can't even control your bowel movements at this time. And instead, she was punished for being hungry. And so, I'm not an advocate. I'm not an advocate. If anybody knows me, I am a criminal lawyer. Criminal defense lawyer. But I'm not usually the person that advocates for the death penalty. But in this case, I think they got it right. You know, another interesting thing about this case is Tiffany Moss decided to represent her case throughout the trial. You have that right. I believe it's a case in California way back when, but you're allowed to represent yourself. Some of the rules are that you have to be able to understand the significance of the trial, be competent, maybe know the risk, and also just the severity of the case. But this is the severe as it gets when it comes to murder, but you're allowed to do it. The DC sniper, he represented himself. Ted Bundy represented himself. You're allowed to represent yourself when you want to, that is your right. But the thing is, though, it's no coming back later and saying, I didn't have a fair trial because I represented myself. No, you waived that, baby, because you decided to represent yourself. You have to eat what you decided to do. And the thing is, Tiffany didn't call any witnesses. She didn't object to anything. At one point, she even laughed a little. She was very calm during the sentencing when they told her she was sentenced to death. She literally, let me see. Oh, okay, that's right. All right. Those things almost made me think she's not competent, But I don't think that's going to be a good grounds for her appeal. But who knows? Maybe that was her whole thing. Nevertheless, she was sentenced to death, and I believe the date was around June or July, and that day has since come and gone, and so she does have these automatic stays and appeals that you're going to have for a death penalty. Death penalty is no I might get an appeal. You automatically get those appeals because it is dealing with sentencing someone to death, and we want to get it right. And that's usually my hiccup when it comes to death penalty cases. It's not that I don't feel like nobody deserves it. It's just that we want to get it right. Never want to be in a situation. I think it's a bigger injustice to sentence someone to death and they did not do it, and it happens more than we think that it does. And if it never happened, it'd be like, okay, it did something really, really bad and they deserve the death penalty. I get it. But the thing is that we don't always get it right. And so you want to make sure that we get it right. With this case, I don't think it's a matter of whether Tiffany did it or not. That's why I'm curious to see where her defense is going to be, her appeal is going to be, because it's not that she didn't do it. We know that she did it. It ultimately led to the father and her taking the daughter after she had a seizure. It was too far gone at this point, so they tried to feed her out of straw or feed her food. She wasn't taking the food down, and she ultimately died. They left her in a room for like a week. And then the father says, again, trying to make himself look good, he says, well, let's cremate her. First of all, he makes me think he's not competent or just don't have it all there, So, nevertheless, they take charcoal. Right, charcoal. And they try to burn the child's body, and they're not successful at that, of course. It just takes way hotter heat to burn a body. And so at this point, he's like, okay, I've been trying to help my wife, but, this has got too far. I don't know what to do. He calls his friend. His friend's like any rational person would be like, yeah, you're wrong. Call the police. He calls the police, and he's ultimately apprehended. Tiffany Moss takes off because she's on the run, because she knew she was wrong from day one. So she takes off and like, okay, I'm going, and they ultimately catch her. This is just a sad case, and I feel like the system failed Imani because after Tiffany assaulted her, she should have been taken out of the home indefinitely. Sometimes you have to see those things. You have to discern those things, and you have to look into the situation and see how this situation happened. You don't place a child back into a home where they're being hurt. At this point, it's no word about Imani's mom, so she's not in the picture. Someone had to protect this child, and the system failed her. Her father definitely failed her, and Tiffany Moss, she ultimately failed her. This child, Queen, I hope you rest in peace. And if you guys like this channel, if you like the video, let me know. Comment below. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Have a great one. Bye. Peace.